Are you going to review this keyboard? Huh? Is that what we're going to do? Leave a like in the comments, guys, if you want to see some cat keyboard reviews. Today, I am going to be looking at the Ducky Shine keyboard. This is a mechanical keyboard. It's from a company called Ducky. They are out of Taiwan, I believe. They make great mechanical keyboards. Pretty well known in the mechanical keyboard community for just pretty high quality merchandise and stuff like that. Harder to find in the US. I had to get this shipped. This one was 120 bucks. This keyboard, the Ducky One, it has the newest, the most recent Cherry MX switch, the Speed Switch, or Silver, I think is the color they're going by. They had clear ones in the past, but those are different. And I really like this one. This one has white LEDs as opposed to RGB, which I'm not a fan of. I'd rather just have plain white LEDs or no LEDs whatsoever. And it is a black case. It is a full-size mechanical keyboard, so not a what are those, poker keyboards, or the I don't remember what they call the other ones. 10 keyless, that's it. Yeah, it's not a 10 keyless, it's not a poker, it's a full-size one. You got a warning here on the back. It says water and beverages cannot be poured into this keyboard, which is a shame because that's what I do with most of my keyboards. I just pour all my beverages in there and then you just drink out the bottom as it runs out. It's fantastic. Yeah, let's get into it. So, my previous keyboard before this, I've been using Cherry MX Blue switches basically since I got into mechanical keyboards, probably, I don't know, like close to 10 years ago at this point. This will be my first experience with something that is not Cherry MX Blues. I went with something completely different, and these are pretty much the opposite of what Blues are. As you can see here, you get kind of a nice plastic covering for the keyboard, and it also has this paper. Keyboard itself, all black. Put that aside for a sec. Got the Ducky manual. You will need this if you end up getting one of these Ducky ones. They are very useful, as none of the function shit is labeled, so you kind of have to figure that all out for yourself. And a product registration card, I assume. It's pretty much, oh no, it's got some English on it in the back too. I was like, it's mostly in like Taiwanese or Chinese or some kind of Chinese. I'm not sure. Also get some, pretty wide selection of green keycaps and a nice cable. Let's put this off to the side for the moment. So this keyboard has a removable cable. It goes standard USB to micro USB in the back of it. The one they send you is pretty heavy. It's a pretty nice cable, decent length. I wish it were a little bit longer. And it's got gold plating on the micro USB and the full-size USB. So that's kind of cool. And this Ducky strap, which I've seen comes on pretty much all their keyboards. It's really interesting Velcro. It doesn't feel like Velcro that much until you get it to stick. If you have to tie it off or whatever. Keys themselves. Take a look at these. Now see, this is kind of interesting because if you look on the keyboard, I don't know if you can tell really, but the keys, the numbers and lettering on it shines through for the white LEDs, but on the keycaps they give you, they are just solid white keycaps. It's an interesting choice why they don't give you, and frankly they feel a little bit cheaper than the ones that are on the board. I don't know if they are, but they kind of feel that way. All right, the board itself. Full-size mechanical keyboard. One thing I really like about this is there's no extra, it's like immaculately built. This is like what I would want a keyboard to look like. It's just, there's no marking denomination on it. You can't tell what it is. There's no extra like rests on the bottom. There's nothing on top. I mean, you sacrifice a little bit of functionality for that. It does have a couple of media keys over here, mute, volume down, and volume up on that side over there. But basically, you could do whatever you want with this because most of it is programmed through the function buttons. The back is kind of interesting too. It's got a nice metal number with serial number on it. It's got 4 rubber feet on two on the top, 2 on the bottom. It's got cable management holes. Your USB goes in the top up here. Do not remove. It says, do not remove. Okay. Okay, I won't remove. And you also have these 4 dip switches on the back too. Now these you might not see on a lot of other keyboards. I've not seen these on any of the ones I've used. I've previously owned 2 Corsair keyboards. Both of them were blue switches. I don't mind Corsair. I think they make pretty good keyboards overall, but when you upgrade to something like this, those start to feel really, really cheap. These have stands on the back. Ooh, you got little nice rubber feet on the stands, or the risers. I don't know what these are called. Feet, I guess. And you got 2 different heights, so you could go big, which feels a little bit too raised to me. You also can go with the smaller feet. Smaller feet also have pads, so just like attention to detail on this whole thing is really nice. Small feet feel pretty good. I would probably use this in just standard all the way down type thing. It is kind of angled to begin with. It doesn't lie flat when you have the feet down. It is raised a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but you can kind of tell it doesn't sit completely flat or anything like an Apple keyboard. So yeah, again, the only thing I really have to compare this to is Corsair keyboards, because it's the only other one I've ever really owned. I used to think Corsair was well built. They had that like metal brushed metal under the keys and stuff like that, and the rest of the chassis was pretty plastic. But like this feels the weight of like 2 Corsair keyboards. It's so solid. There's no flex to it like whatsoever. There's got to be like a huge fucking steel plate. I imagine it's like probably that thick that runs through the middle of the keyboard to make it this sturdy. The whole outside is plastic, but it feels pretty premium plastic, very heavy duty. It does not feel flimsy or cheap. And the keys have a very nice, satisfying sound to that metal plate that they're hitting against, which I really like. It's just like, if you have the same switch on a Corsair keyboard, like if I got this in blue and tested against the blue Corsair keyboard, it would just sound way different and sound like just way more satisfying on this. I'm not sure how I'm going to like the Cherry MX speed switches. I've read a little bit about them. They're like even like shorter actuation reds, basically. There's no tactile feel. But what I do like about this one is because the back plate is so hard, if you bottom out keys like I do, where you press it all the way down to the bottom, not just to the point where it actuates, you get like a tactile feedback to it from it hitting the bottom. I understand that that's not the same thing at all, but it does give a sensation of like tactile feel somewhat, but with a fast switch. So we'll see that, because like you can go all the way down with it, but I imagine, based on, I've used Reds in the past, but I've never owned a Cherry MX Red keyboard, that like, I imagine like that sort of amount of pressure is going to be actuation. So if you were good at it, you could type without like putting sort of like any pressure on the keys, but I'm not that good at it. One thing you got to get used to this manual is like, you're going to flip through pages and pages of Chinese or Taiwanese or whatever Mandarin until you find the part where they tell you how to do things in English. Nope, still going. So these dip switches down here that you don't see on many other keyboards that I've used in the past, there's 4 of them, and apparently according to the instruction manual, 1 through 3 decides where the function key is located. So you can actually change where the function key is if you want to put it on control, or like basically anywhere on this bottom row you can kind of switch it to, which is kind of cool. And the fourth one is for, you can change from N key rollover to 6 key rollover. I don't know what the advantage of that is. Now, the function key itself, along with most of the function buttons up top, the F1 through F12, plus like all of these buttons, all have different interactions, basically. You control all the lighting through this, so you can do like breathing mode, raindrop mode, reactive mode, ripple mode, or just turn the backlighting off. You can adjust brightness. You can adjust color. You can on the RGB versions of this. You can adjust like what color each key is and stuff like that, but I just got the white backlit one, which is the one I wanted, and that's why I bought it. You also control, Ducky keyboards have a cool, I think it's function caps lock if I remember correctly, or function scroll lock or something like that, where the numpad becomes a mouse. So it's like mouse up, mouse down, left and right click, scroll wheel. If for some reason you don't want a mouse or don't want to use a mouse and do a weird setup where you're doing this to do games or something. Maybe that might work for, who knows? I don't want to suggest any uses for that because I can't really think of what that's useful for, but it's a cool function nonetheless. I've never really tried it. The last thing you can really do with the function key, that is including basically the entire keyboard, is that your keyboard is on one layer. Those are all the keys that are written on the keycaps themselves, and then there's a function layer, and you can change literally, I think, pretty much every key on the keyboard if you want to do all kinds of macros, timed macros, multimedia functions, just different stuff like that. So it's super customizable. And the other thing about this is it's completely driverless. It doesn't use any software or anything like that. It's all controlled in the keyboard itself. And that is why you have to read the manual and do everything through the function keys, because it doesn't have any software, which I actually think is kind of a selling point for this, to be quite honest. Like, I've used enough software, not that it's like bad to have software, but it's just kind of cool that it's, you know, it's just a self-contained thing in the hardware itself, that, you know, everything's just in there. Everything you need is just ready to go. Last thing I have to address today is, again, of course, becoming everyone's favorite part of the show. Got a letter from my ex again. Had some pretty strong words in the last video about her and her new boyfriend. I assume boyfriend is the word I would use. Didn't have a lot of nice things to say about them, but they have not had a lot of nice things to say about me recently. So let's just kind of take a look at this really fast. It's probably not much, I mean. Okay, you're not? Okay. That's, you know, really reassuring. I think you really know how to guilt trip me into shit. I think that's why I've stayed married to you for so long. You ever have people in your life that, like, they just know how to get under your skin? Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about it. I just don't. This is a really good keyboard, though. You should consider buying it if you want to. Highly recommend it. Go with the all black look like I got. Be a good setup if you want to do that. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.